Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Today our topic is, does our government have roundup lists? Now remember back just before the turn of the century, back when it was about to come 2000 or Y2K, there was a lot of rumors going around that there were roundup lists. In other words, if your name was on a red list, then you were the first ones to be rounded up. If your name was on a blue list, then the blue list would be rounded up after the first list. There was a lot of talk about barbed wire FEMA prison camps and things like that. Now, I want to not believe that. And I want to not believe that our government would do anything like that today. But in light of two articles that have just surfaced, apparently that's exactly what's happening. All right, so let's get on to it. The first one comes to us from Gateway Pundit. I don't know how, but this Gateway comes up with a lot of good stuff. So headline says, breaking. Godless Biden regime flagged Americans who shopped at Dick's, Cabela's, and who bought Christian Bibles. Now, you probably heard that much on the news, but you probably didn't, like I normally wouldn't have either, dug into it a little deeper. But I did. And I actually read the article. I actually read the whole letter. Now, this comes from Jim Jordan, and you hear him on a lot of Fox News interviews, a good guy. And he's blowing the whistle on what the government did. Now, this was back in 2020. Wow. Okay, we didn't know this happened. Okay, so if they did this back in 2020, and this is what we discovered, here's the bigger question. What are they doing now? What are they about to do in the near future that we also don't know, but it's a whole lot worse? This is rather minor. But if we fathom on this, what else are they doing? Now, let me show you. So the article says, this is from Jim Jordan, and he's writing to the person in the government that has to do with searching people's accounts. I'm trying to make this short and quick. So it outlines that typologies of various persons of interest and provide financial institutions, and he specifically says they wanted them to search through looking for Trump, the words MAGA. Where are they supposed to search? Now, this is the interesting part. They're supposed to search Zelle payment messages also. FinCEN warned financial institution of extreme indicators. So Trump and MAGA are extreme indicators of potential terrorists, is what they're saying. Transportation charges. Okay, so if you're buying airline tickets, bus tickets, anything that moves you from A to B, such as bus tickets, rental cars, plane tickets, travel to areas with no apparent purpose. How would they know that? How would they know he shouldn't be traveling there? Here's a bigger question. Why should they care? Or the purchase of books, including religious texts, and subscription to other media containing extremist views. In other words, FinCEN urged large financial institutions to comb through the private transactions of their customers for suspicious charges on the basis of protected political and religious expression. So, the first question is, does the U.S. government have roundup lists? Apparently, they do, and it gets worse. In addition, the subcommittee have obtained documents showing that FinCEN distributed slides prepared by a financial institution explaining how other financial institutions can use MCC codes. Now, what are MCC codes? Well, the text was so small in this that I could not read those MCC codes. But it was things like, have they bought a firearm? Have they bought ammunition? Have they bought books? Or just, I mean, there was a list of like, I'm going to say 30 to 40 different items. They have an MCC code. Apparently, this is for financial institutions for just about anything we're going to buy, at least that they're interested in, to detect customers whose transactions may reflect potential active shooters and who, well, okay, if they're so good at finding potential active shooters, how come when one is in the Uvalde school system for 77 minutes, and the police officers don't charge and take the guy out, okay? If they really want to stop active shooters, when one has presented themselves, he ought to be out within minutes. I don't remember exactly how many minutes it was in Allen, Texas, but when the shooter popped up there was an officer on scene, heard the shooting, went over and took him out real quick. Potential active shooters, and who may include dangerous international terrorists. Okay, if they don't want international terrorists in our nation, then close the southern border and also the northern border and also the coasts and airlines and bus tickets, and they'll probably be pouring in all kinds of other ways we don't know about. International terrorists, domestic terrorists, homegrown violent terrorists, lone wolves. For example, the slides instruct financial institutions to query for transactions using MCC codes such as 3484, small arms. 901 is sporting and recreational goods and supplies. Okay, so if you go down and buy yourself a brand new racquetball racket, you might get on their list for them to come knocking at your door. I see you bought something at Dick's Sporting Goods. Yes, I bought a few racquetballs and a new racket because my one broke. Well, we want to see the racket. We want to see the balls, okay? Have we reached that point? Well, apparently we have. Recreational goods and supplies are the keywords Cabela's and Dick's Sporting Goods, among several others, and it gets worse. Americans exercising the Second Amendment rights, FinCEN seems to have adopted as characterization of these Americans as potential threat actors. So, if you go to Dick's Sporting Goods, Cabela's, if you have anything to do with the small arms or ammunition, anything like that, you are a threat to the federal government. They're checking you out. And probably the day will come where they're going to round you up. And more specifically, they're looking for Christians. They didn't say that, but you know that. Or we should say people that have not taken the mark of the beast. We know where this is going. Anyway, it goes on with a request of federal law enforcement into Americans' private transactions is alarming and raises serious doubts about FinCEN's respect for fundamental civil rights. Skip on down. In law enforcement's mass accumulation and use of Americans' private information without legal process, if any, to safeguard Americans' private... Okay, so you may be saying, well, if they're searching out every little thing like that, the data's going to pile up and it's going to be too big for them to ever even go through it. Wrong. They have AI now, artificial intelligence. They have computers so fast that can monitor every transaction on the globe, listen to every phone call, every fax, every email, every text. Everything we say and do is all monitored. Now, maybe not with human ears, but they have a list of words. I understand that there's 100 words. Now, of course, today, now they've come up with artificial intelligence and these really, really fast computers, the list of what do they call them? Trap words is probably over 2,000, just guessing. But if we say something, do something wrong, there might be someone knocking at our door. It might be even worse. Okay, so the big question is, does our government have roundup lists? And there's more. I have another article. U.S. government is demanding details on your fertility, bathing habits, and more. A top-flight legal team is protesting schemes by the U.S. Census Bureau to demand for millions of Americans details about their fertility, about how you are taking your baths, about your work commute, how long is it, where do you go to, your utility costs, your cognitive disabilities. I remember this last time I went to the doctor, and the Medicare, whatever, requires certain things every year. And one was a cognitive test. He says, I'm going to say 3 words, and then we're going to talk for a little while, and I'm going to ask you to tell me about those 3 words. Okay, so do you think that's just the insurance company getting the information on that? Do you not know that they are snooping into every doctor's visit, every prescription, every phone call. Look, if they're monitoring every phone call, every text, they know all about us. Natural history, and the big thing they want to know is religion. So, it says, any attempt by the government to encroach into the citizens' privacy rights or establish a system which the populace can be targeted, tracked, and singled out must be met with extreme caution. I would say it ought to be stopped. But of course, we the people are not in charge anymore. We want to believe we are. They want us to think we are, but we're not. The Bureau also seeks to ask about possession of electric vehicles, solar panels, the type of sewage disposal, and a person's sexual orientation and gender identity. Okay, I'm not real good on this, but I think the understanding of sexual orientation is, are you male or female now? And gender identity is, you may have been born a male, but now you've decided that you're a female. Maybe there was flesh moved in a surgery. Maybe there wasn't. That's gender identity. And no, I don't want to know anything more about it. Godless people. All right, let's go on. Back to the big question. Yes, the U.S. government already has roundup lists. Well, is there another way we know that? Well, as someone emailed me this morning, they said, you keep saying in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. Well, there's a scripture that says, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let a thing be established. So if this person over here has a dream, and it says basically the same person as this other person's dream, unless they got together in some kind of cahoots, that's saying that that's God. That's saying you can count on what they're saying. In our case, we have 12, 14, and in the case of Suitcase Nukes, we have 34 different dreams, visions, audible voices, angel visits saying Suitcase Nukes are going to go off in our nation. Which, by the way, for that, I'll send you to empshield.com. Promo code $50. If you use it, it's called Prophecy. Of course, it helps your Prophecy Club, but it gets you $50 off, too. All right, now, on to the next thing. Now, I covered this, but it's been a long time. But there's something in it that confirms they do have roundup lists, and that's why I'm bringing it to you. Coverstone, 2021. The room darkened and the screen revealed, I'm only reading part of it, revealed running taglines saying things like, avoid the unvaccinated. These people are dangerous. Please inform authorities of all sightings. Okay. How do you know someone is vaccinated or not vaccinated? What makes them dangerous? And the big question is, it's openly asking people to rat on each other. Okay, that sounds like a communist country. That's what they did in Russia. That's what they did in East Berlin, okay? These are the kind of things you see when a nation is about to be taken over or has been taken over. He goes on to say the screen showed a group of about 8 people running along a ditch near a cornfield that had not been harvested yet. They carried backpacks and several large brown tarps. Why? You'll see, to cover their body heat. The sun was setting. They had 2 scouts closely watching ahead of them and the 2 scouts behind them. When lights appeared on the road in either direction, they quickly ran into the field about 30 feet in, covered themselves with the tarp, and laid extremely still. Why? Because somebody is looking for them. Now, obviously, in that this is given to Dana Coverstone, the people being searched for are Christians. No movement, no noise was made until the vehicle was well by them. Now, that means that they're searching by sound and heat. It was a coordinated effort among the people, including children and dogs. As the threat passed, the people emerged. They ran straight ahead until they came to a T in the road. Now, remember, our objective is to answer the question, does the U.S. government have roundup lists? Scouts on the other side of the road near a railroad track flashed lights, telling them it was okay to cross. They all ran quickly. Once they reached the ditch, a light blinked from the window in the garage of the home. By now it was so dark, the scouts started quietly moving a few people at a time. They had to lay flat to the ground as possible. The group crawled through the window just as a closed helicopter with searchlights search the area they just left. Okay, what does that tell you? Tells me that something did detect them, probably either a drone or a satellite, and they still sent out helicopters to search. Stan, are you saying it's going to get that bad in America? Yeah, I'm going to show you here in just a second another dream from one or two more people that are confirming that's exactly what we're heading to. The scene changed to an EMS alert. The signal blared loud with a reporter saying martial law had been declared. Anyone caught outside of their home after 7 p.m. would be arrested and taken to the local. I hesitate to say the rest of that in that sentence. You got to just read that. I can't say it. If you see something, say something. Oh, we've already heard that one. Safeguard your community from dangerous assailants. Who's that? Us. Do your country proud. Turn them in. You think that's coming? Do you think 2024 could be the year it arrives? I do. And I think most people watching are probably saying, yeah, very, very good possibility. Let's go on. The scene changed back to the people being hog-tied and thrown to the back of the cattle trucks and hauled off. They catch you, that's what they do. Hog-tie you and throw you in a cattle truck. The people inside were yelling and screaming at the handlers. The handlers were all well armed. They used electric shock cattle prods to shock the people to back up. The screen went blank, and the man I see so often walked in. I said to him, I take it you are the specialist. You are right, and I will explain what you've seen if you'd like to understand. I simply said, please. You're seeing the present future. What does that mean? It's saying it's just around the corner. It might not be around the horizon anymore. It might even be at the end of the street. It might even be at the end of the driveway. You are seeing the present future and the coming conservative purge. Conservative purge. Wow, we've never heard that before, have we? Why don't you go to imdb.com, internetmoviedatabase.com, IMDb, and do a search for the word purge. I think I've got it later on in this program. There's been lots of movies talking about killing a bunch of good people, the people in charge. No, not the people in charge. The good people. The Antichrist spirit is here. And yet they begin to make the purchase to deceive the world with healing blood that will mock the blood of Christ. This blood is not my blood and will never heal or forgive or restore. But they must make it appear to have power, even as if it's empty. Now, that we haven't reached yet. We don't know what they're talking about yet. Many will claim and empty their will to declare its worthless virtue. You must stay braced. What's he saying? He's saying don't quit. He's saying don't fall away from Jesus. Don't go into the mark of the beast. Don't go along with the things the New World Order wants to do. Every believer is about to have their bracing revealed and the foundation uncovered. As the specialist, I warn you to take the salve for your eyes. That's straight out of Revelation 3, I believe. Take the salve from your eyes, stop coating your life with wine and that sin, and stay fully sober as the days arrive for the testing of your life. Wine is sin, the day may be, the tribulation, the testing of your life is the mark of the beast. He then touched my forehead, leaving an action mark with his fingerprint. Then he reached into his left jacket pocket with his right hand and took out a small white cloth and wiped it off. He said, I'm marking those who are mine, and I will walk beside them in the fire, even though some of you here in this country will meet me soon on the other side. What's he saying? He's saying a lot of Christians here in America are about to die. He grabbed my hand and squeezed until I could feel goodness and virtue coming into my body. Then he said, be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life. What's that saying? That's Jesus saying, you can quote that, you can pull that right out of Revelation chapter 2. Be thou faithful unto death, I will give you a crown of life. Thou must suffer 10 days, but be faithful unto death. I'll give you a crown of life. The room went black, and I woke shaking and crying and wept for about 10 minutes as I gathered myself. What we're talking about, they want us to do one of these four things. I saw, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire, and then we got victory over the beast, over his image, over his mark, over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass having the harps of God. Now, what is the beast? Well, we don't know the name of the beast yet, but sad to say, we're about to know. Probably here in the next year or two. My guess is 3 on the outside, but I don't know. But what is his image? We hear all this talk about AI, artificial intelligence. Do a search on artificial intelligence. There's articles claiming it does all kinds of things. I think that's what it's talking about. The image is going to be a representative tied into a computer, and it's probably going to be, just guessing, kind of a robot slash human flesh slash computer, or linked to all of these fast computers, all human knowledge accumulated, or the mark or the number of his name. There's more. You want to say, no. Bible is the same thing about a conservative purge. Read these. Slain for the word of God until their fellow servants of their brethren should be killed as they were should be fulfilled. Shed the blood of saints and prophets, blood of saints and prophets, and God avenged you on her, the blood of prophets and saints. Read those verses. There is a conservative purge coming. Does our government have roundup lists? At this point, I would say, yeah. Now, a couple of things I think I need to point out. So David Phillips had this dream back in 2022. Had a dream within a dream that I was driving, remembering a dream that I had before God telling me to buy food. I recall being surprised at the time because I thought I'd already purchased enough food, but apparently it wasn't enough. I was driving and gathering other preparations, and I skipped the rest of the dream. But I haven't talked about Joseph's Kitchen in a long time now, so let me talk about it for a second. So about 3 years ago, I got this video of this woman talking in a church, talking about how she makes her own bread, where she actually grinds her own wheat berries, makes her own flour, makes that into whole wheat bread. I thought, okay, all right, fine, I'll try it. So I ordered a grinder, I ordered some wheat berries, and I made 2 loaves. And Leslie and I liked it. And I said, I think I'm going to keep making this. She says, well, if you're going to keep making it, you better order a bread machine because I'm not kneading dough. So I ordered a bread machine. And I started making wheat bread, and I didn't think anything was going to come of it, but God began to speak here to me. What he began to show me is wheat. Now listen, this is real important. Wheat is God's famine food. Not corn, not some kind of prepackaged, something where you boil water and add it. Okay, there's all kinds of things out there that people are selling for long-term storage food. But you remember the story, the Pharaoh had 2 dreams, actually. And the first part of the dream, I'm not going to go into all details, but first part of the dream said that there's 7 years of plenty that would precede 7 years of famine. Long story short, what they did was store 20% during the 7 years of plenty. And that was wheat, and it fed the world. Why wheat? Well, why do you think the Bible refers to us as wheat? I think it's because wheat is the primary thing that God intended for us to eat. Not only that, but as long as it's in berry form, put it in. Now, if you get it in bags, and that's the way most of it comes, that's only good for about a year. Bag breaks, mice eat it, rats eat it, all kinds of problems. But if you get it from Joseph's Kitchen, first of all, there's 3 things. One is it doesn't come in a paper bag. It comes in a plastic pail, which, of course, resists mice and things like that. But they also nitrogen infuse it, so that gets out the oxygen. And while we can't guarantee it lasts 25 years, it probably does. Also, it's the right wheat, because there's thousands of varieties of wheat. If you don't get the right variety of wheat, it won't make bread. Sure, you can grind it and you can put in all the ingredients, but it comes out a brick. In other words, it doesn't rise if it's not the right kind of wheat. So I recommend you go to josephskitchen.com. josephskitchen.com. That's why we call it Joseph's Kitchen, because this is long-term famine storage. So here's another thing. Most of your long-term storage food, you're talking $9,000, $10,000 to feed one person for a year. Let me say it again. around $9,000 or $10,000 to feed one person for 1 year. Joseph Kitchen can show you how to do it for about $1,000, one person, 1 year. I'm going to say it again. About $1,000 to feed one person for 1 year. What do I do, Stan? I don't know anything about it. Okay, I'm going to show you. Here's what you do. josephkitchen.com, the website look a lot like this. Click here. Start with step 1. It's a machine package. This is the grinder where you put the wheat in and it grinds. It takes about 30 seconds. Now you have flour. You put that into the bread machine along with 5 other ingredients. Don't have to do anything else. Push a button. 2 hours and 20 minutes later, you have a nice, hot, steaming loaf of wonderful, delicious tasting and wholesome bread. Now, if there's any one thing, and there's not one thing, but if there was any one thing that a person could eat all throughout their life and be healthy, probably, in my opinion, the closest thing to that would be wheat. That's why Jesus calls us the wheat as opposed to the tares. Next thing is you're going to have to decide how much food you want to get. Step 2 is the supplies. Do you want to get food for one person for a year, 2 people for a year, 4 people for a year? I suggest you get more than what you need because you're going to have other people, when they find out you got food knocking on your door, you want to have enough food. And probably you're going to include some Bible studies. Now, there's also recipes. Matter of fact, they have videos up there. This video here, matter of fact, I think I'm even in this video, but this is my daughter. She's the one that owns and runs Joseph Kitchen now. And I interview her. We talk about how it all started, blah, blah, blah. This particular video shows you the benefits of having homemade bread. And this video here shows you exactly how to make the bread. Matter of fact, I think there's a video even up on the Prophecy Club platform right here on wherever you're watching this that shows you exactly. I've made, I don't know, over 180 loaves, maybe getting 200, possible 200. Matter of fact, I had it for breakfast, and I took Leslie for lunch. I did it for lunch today, unusual. Normally, it's my breakfast, it's my lunch, and I always eat one slice before I go play racquetball because it gives me strength and I can run like the wind. I suggest you spend about $1,000 per person. You go to josephkitchen.com and get yourself some long-term food. I've been asked not to say anything about Berkey water filters until we actually get them in. But if you want on the waiting list, call us. 785-266-1112. That's all I'm going to say about it right now. Okay, so they have videos. My point is they have videos. Okay, now there's one more thing. Vision given to David Phillips. The vision I saw was of a new pope. The pope I saw was standing in front of great masses of people in Italy at the Vatican. He was high, so high he could speak to the people directly, and there was great excitement in the crowd because of this pope. The papacy had finally returned to Italy. He looked younger than past popes, not frail. He was maybe in his 30s or 40s with dark hair and dark facial hair. What greatly troubled me were the words he was shouting. His words were not of love and kindness, as with past popes I'd seen, but he was threatening and attacking the Protestants, shouting that the true church must rise and unite against the Protestants. He was shouting that Protestants are not true believers, but rather they are the unbelievers. The crowd was shouting with rage and hatred in support of him and his words. He said the penalty for them must be death. Okay, did you catch that? It's saying that the Pope is going to send all of the people that believe in the Pope and the guy he's pointing to, which we're going to call the Antichrist, the Bible calls the Antichrist, or the beast, actually. He's saying any of them that don't have the mark are to be killed. And the Pope apparently is giving them authority in the kingdom of God to kill the unbelievers. That would be you and I, okay? He said the penalty for them must be death. The people were in complete agreement with this. They had been called to action, and the entire world would now rise in power to kill Protestants in all nations. I'm telling you, there is a Christian purge coming. That's what the Purge movies are about. The words he spoke were so frightening that I cannot explain how mere words could be so powerful in developing a reaction in you. It was unlike anything I'd ever witnessed before. Somehow, I knew in my heart that he was talking about killing us, the true believers, who are far fewer in number. I knew that what he was saying was the opposite of the truth, but the people believed him. I thought, but we are the true believers. Life on earth had changed forever. I thought, we will now be hunted and killed for our faith around the world. I'm not ready for this. I was made to know that our only option is to run and hide. But they will discover that when all the world has turned to the beast, there is nowhere to hide. They will find you. Our only hope is to trust Jesus with our death. Revelation 13 says, and he that leadeth into captivity should go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience. That means don't quit Jesus. Here's the patience in the faith of the saints. What is that saying? It's saying that if you turn people in to the New World Order or to the beast, you'll be turned in. More importantly, it says, if they're coming after you because you have not taken the mark of the beast, you should not kill them. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Wait a minute. Are you telling me that I can't go after these people that are trying to come and kill me? That's the reason it says, here's the patience and faith of the saints. In other words, you can't escape the fact this is somehow set up by God as a test for those people who are going to get the highest crown. And I saw under the altar, the souls of those who were beheaded for the witness of Jesus, that had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, and I received his mark in his forehead and their hand, and they lived and reigned with Christ for 1,000 years. I can show you several times in Revelation where Jesus does expect us to die for him rather than take the mark. So what is an EMP Shield device? It's a device you can put on your car and your house that in an EMP attack is supposed to stop the attack. And if you go to empshield.com and if you use the promo code prophecy, they give you a $50 discount. They also have videos up there, shows you how to install it on your car and your house and everything, and it's not difficult at all. I've got one of them right here. Red goes to red, black goes to black, green goes to the car, body of your car, and you just peel it off the back, stick it under there. Got another device that goes on your house. So, not complicated. Take you about 10 minutes to put them in. So, empshield.com, promo code is prophecy.